And welcome back. Here's a bit of Bible trivia that you can share at the Christmas dinner table this year. What were the first recorded words of Jesus? Well, they're found in the book of Luke chapter 2. And my friend Stu Epperson Jr. has written a great new book called First Words of Jesus that shares why those words mean so much in the life of every believer this Christmas and year-round. Take a look. Stu, thanks so much for joining us here today on The Watchman at Christmas time. Perfect time for your book.
Merry Christmas. I love this time of year. So honored to be on with you, my friend.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Well, look, your book is called The First Words of Jesus. Now, you wrote a book last year, Stu, a great book called The Last Words of Jesus. Now we are at the first words of Jesus. I think a good place to start for people who might not know is, what were the first words of Jesus in Luke 2? And why are they so relevant, especially at this time of the year?
His first words were in the temple, and there's this chaotic moment where mom and dad have gone, stepdad Joseph, mother Mary, they've gone back, and they didn't lose some car keys or camel keys or a coat or a scarf. They've lost the one who came to save the lost, Jesus Christ. Where is he? We thought he was with you. Wait, we thought he was with aunt or uncle. Nowhere to be found. So they make the journey back to Jerusalem to find their son in the temple. And they're upset, and there's a lot of chaos at Christmas time. You think about that. Our chaos, a lot of times, doesn't have to do with Jesus. Our excitement, our anxiety maybe has to do with the fact that we don't have Jesus at the center. Well, there he is in the temple.
Everything that pulls us away from Jesus at this time of year.
That's exactly right, Eric. And we get so, in every day, for me, listen, every day, God has to speak to me. I have to listen to him and remind me, why am I here? What am I doing? And that's exactly what Jesus does. We find out it wasn't Jesus who was lost on that day at Passover. It was his parents. They had a whole nother agenda, a whole nother mission. It was getting home. And we find out we're brought in for the only words we hear from Jesus in his entire early childhood, in those 3 decades before his public ministry. The only words we hear from him are in Luke 2:49, and there are two questions, profound questions from the Messiah. And they are, first, why are you looking for me? Why are you seeking me? The one who said, follow me, is saying, why are you following me? Quite fascinating. And then the second question, don't you know that I must be about my Father's business?
So those are the first words of Jesus, Stu. And his Father's business took Jesus ultimately to the cross. And that's something I love about your book, Stu, because you make the connection between the cradle, Jesus born in a manger in Bethlehem. You make the connection, which people often forget, I think, between the cradle and the cross. Talk about that a little bit if you can.
Those powerful words of Jesus in Luke 2:49 connect the cradle to the cross really as powerfully as anything he said, because they asked the question, why did he come? And so in the book, we look at through that lens of why celebrate Christmas? Why are you looking for me? What is his mission? Don't you know I'm to be about my Father's business? Through those questions, we look through that lens of the shepherds. How are they connected to that? The wise men and their gifts, unbelievable. Chapter 5, I talk about that gold, that frankincense, and myrrh beautifully amplify the mission of the Savior. Even Herod, the murderous, nefarious king, he was connected to Jesus, but in a really bad way. And there's pain and darkness at Christmas time. It's a tough time of year for people. And then, of course, Simeon and Anna and Joseph and Mary. And so this is the new book. I've got a little cross silhouetted in the back. And of course, there's the manger where it says from the cradle to the cross, to really show that there is a cross connected to that cradle. And when you realize that, when we go to that cross, when we get to the baby and then get to the cross, everything changes. And everything changed in my life when that happened to me, when I discovered that Savior died for poor, ornery sinners like Stu right here and like Eric.
That's right. And as you said, Stu, it brings a whole new meaning to Christmas. It's not just about gifts and parties anymore. It's about the Savior. And you mentioned the hymns and the carols at Christmas time, Stu. Throughout the book, one of the things I love about the book is you have traditional Christmas hymns and carols throughout the book because a lot of times people forget. Look, Hark the Herald Angels Sing, Silent Night. These are about the Savior ultimately. It's not just a catchy little jingle in a department store. Hey, I wanted to ask you, Stu, about one chapter you have. It's called The Dark Side of Christmas. Now, that might seem a little ominous to people. Christmas is such a festive time, but I think this is a very important chapter. Tell us what you mean about that, the dark side of Christmas.
Well, I'm so glad you asked. It was the hardest chapter to write. And it's hard to write because you and I may say outwardly, Merry Christmas to someone, but there's a lot of pain. And there's a lot of folks that have lost, like a friend of mine just spoke to me the other day in California. His granddad, who he was so close to, died on Christmas Day several years ago. So every time Christmas comes around, sure, he's opening presents and the kids are happy, they're excited, but there's this deep pain. Some friends of ours lost their son, and it's tough. This is a tough time of year. So really, the only person that can look you in the eye and can look me in the eye and say, I feel your pain, is not me. It is not you. It's Jesus Christ. And think about this. All kinds of kids' funerals for little boys 2 and under at Christmas time. That's the reality. In chapter 4, we get into that. It's pretty rough, a lot of scriptures, but we talk about what Herod did, and he slaughtered all these boys. The one that escaped, our hope and dreams, the hopes and fears of all our years are found in him tonight. Who's him? The one that escaped, Jesus Christ.
Stu, thank you so much. The book is First Words of Jesus. Pick it up now. Stu, thank you, my friend. God bless you. Merry Christmas. We'll talk to you again soon.
Merry Christmas to you, my brother. Thanks for all you're doing for the kingdom.
You too, Stu. Thank you. Now, Stu is also founder and president of the Truth Network and host of Truth Talk Live, his own nationally syndicated radio show, which you need to check out. Well, coming up after the break, we head back to Galilee, to the birthplace of Mary Magdalene, where we get a chance to walk in the footsteps of Jesus. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. Stick around.